Hi guys, welcome back. If you haven't been to our channel before, I'm Lee.
I'm Max.
And this
is
here is
Aki.
We have been traveling in Mexico for nearly 5 months now in our van, and we get asked a lot if Mexico is safe. Today we want to talk about our personal experiences in this country, and at the end of the video we're going to share 5 tips with you to help you stay safe in Mexico.
And short disclaimer guys, we're not going to say at any point that Mexico is super safe. The country definitely has its issues, there's no dancing around that. But this is all just about our experiences and experiences with a lot of travellers we've met on the road. So our first big apprehension with crossing into Mexico was the actual driving itself. We were just worried that, having never been here before, we were worried, driving on the road, our van was just going to stand out, and it was, we thought it was going to be super obvious that we were foreigners essentially driving. That's actually not the case. There's a lot of Sprinter vans in Mexico. There's a lot of, normal cars you see all through the US and Canada.
A lot of other people traveling the same way.
Exactly. And the only thing that really gives you away if you have a discrete vehicle is your license plate, and even then, every state in Mexico has different license plates, so they're used to seeing all different plates, and it doesn't really stand out at all.
So next we want to talk about the Mexican people themselves. Max and I have both had such amazing experiences with everyone that we have met. We've been in pickled situations where we're on the side of the road working on the van and people have come up and offered their help to us. Whether we're in AutoZone or we're looking for parts for the van or we're ordering food or we're eating in a restaurant, we have just felt the most warmest welcome from everyone in this country.
Yeah, we've been blown away by the people here, and we absolutely love the Mexican people.
Yeah.
Another experience that I guess we haven't had is that we haven't had any break-ins. We've been 5 months here, we've crossed, maybe 6 states in Mexico, and a lot of that time we're parking our van, we're exploring, we try and park in secure areas, but we've never had anything stolen, we've never been broken into, and I guess we'll talk more about things we do to prevent that in a little bit.
Yeah. I think we've crossed more than 12 states, but we'll count the actual number and get that back to you. Next thing is that we have felt confidence in convoys. Some areas that we knew less about or that we've heard on the news that were not as good area, or just being on the travel advisories in the States, we've decided to drive those areas with the confidence of being with friends. We did travel with our friends to bus life for quite a while, and we did really feel the extra added comfort, and whether that did add to our safety or not, we felt better when we would park places or sleep for the night and we had our buddies beside us, or we're driving down a road and we knew that we're together. If one of us gets pulled over, we're both pulling over. It gives you confidence.
Yeah, I think it just gives you a bit of peace of mind, and even for our families back at home, they like to hear we were traveling with other people through those points.
Yeah.
And it's not just if you got pulled over or anything, it's if your van breaks down,
if you get a flat tire.
In Baja if you get stuck in sand. It's good to be with someone else to help you get out of those situations. Along those same lines as traveling with other people is the fact that you run into a lot of other travelers. When you're kind of planning your journey and deciding to overland through Mexico and maybe Central America, I think for us, part of the time we were thinking, I wonder if we're even going to run into that many other people doing the same thing. And the fact is, yeah, you do. There's a lot of people doing this sort of thing.
Yeah, a lot of Europeans,
a lot of Canadians,
some people from South America,
the odd Australians.
A lot of French, Quebecers.
Yeah. Actually, not that many Americans, as in from the US. So
we've not met many Americans traveling. So there's a lot of you guys that can get down here and travel by van. So
you need to start doing it. And with that, being on, everyone sort of uses similar apps to find camp places like Overlander and things like that. As a result, you often go to camp spots and find a group of other van travellers there, or people camping in their tents or anything. So you're always running into people, and the amount of people we've ran into again and again along our trip, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So lastly, for experiences, we have been pulled over by the cops 3 times, and 3 times we've been asked for a bribe. We'll briefly run through all 3 scenarios. So the first time we got pulled over was we were in the wrong. I did not have my seatbelt on because I just got in the back to get something, and as soon as I saw the cop, I tried to put it on, and he flagged us over onto the side of the road. Something I'd like to note about the trend of all 3 experiences is that The way that the interactions went down with the cops were exactly how we read about online before coming to Mexico. Therefore, we felt mentally prepared for the conversation. So I'll talk the first one.
Yeah.
So the first time he said, we didn't have a seatbelt on, so we have to pay a fine. He said that unfortunately the police office was closed that day and that we could go tomorrow, and that we can get our license back from him tomorrow at the police station when we pay our fine. We were taking the ferry to Mazatlan tomorrow, so we weren't able to do that, and we said to him, no, is there any way we can just pay our fine right now so that we can keep going on with our day? So he offered us a number which was extremely high for us for what we thought it was worth, and we tried to barter with him the price and ended up actually getting the price down. And in the end, we settled on a 100 peso fine, which is about $7 Canadian to pay for not having my seatbelt. We never got a written ticket, and we don't think that it would ever have gone through the books or the station.
No.
And in the end, they gave our license back and we drove away.
And obviously it's not good to promote bribing police or anything, because it's not a good situation that goes on there. But at the same time, for us, we didn't have time to go to the station the next day, and it was...
And we were in the wrong, and
Yeah.
so we were prepared to pay a ticket.
Yeah.
In Canada or the US, you would get a written ticket and it would all be legitimate. Here, he didn't even have a pen and paper. There was no option of writing anything down. Like, he just wanted some quick cash, and...
Yeah. So the second time we got pulled over was by a motorcycle policeman in Mexico City. This time we weren't actually doing anything wrong. He tried to claim we were driving in the wrong time frame for there. There's some specific rules on that. We knew we were in the right, and he was essentially just pushing and pushing to try and get us to pay him a fine. We just kept arguing, and in the end he just got frustrated enough that he essentially just let us go. It was pretty scary at the time because he definitely wasn't friendly about it, but yeah.
So eventually we said, okay, we'll follow you to the station and actually sign, like, if we're going to pay a fine, we want to see it written down somewhere. And then at that point he said, okay, go.
Yeah.
Because
And
if you show your patience and wait it out, that you're not in a rush to get going anywhere, but you want to see something legitimate, then eventually, if it isn't legitimate, then they won't continue. So the third time was in Acapulco, and we also got pulled over for a very bogus reason, which he said that our windows were tinted too dark in the back, and that it was only a one-time fee, so you pay it once, you don't pay it again. And being the third time, we felt like, okay, we were a bit used to this now, but this one was exceptionally weird because he was really friendly and funny about it. And still, we're not condoning this is not right, but this is just what happened to us. And so in the end, same thing, we bartered down and we ended up paying him 100 peso and we went on our way.
Yeah.
So now we'd like to get into tips that we want to share with you guys for how we stayed safe, and we feel if you're going to be driving through here, if you haven't already read them online somewhere, that it would be helpful for you to know.
Yeah, we're going to give you 5 big tips for staying safe.
Okay.
They've really worked for us, and we know a lot of other travellers stick by them as well. So our very first tip, don't drive at night. The reasons for this, there's actually a few. The most well-known one would be, there's potentially more dangerous people out at night, the potential for bandits, things like that. The lesser known ones, which in our experience are almost the worst ones, especially if you're in Baja for this one, is cows on the road. There's a lot of cows that just are allowed to wander, and across the middle of a highway you'll turn a corner and there's just cows on the road. So
they'll be walking or sleeping or sitting and chilling on the road.
And so during the day, at least you can see them a bit further out, but at night it's harder. So that's a big reason not to drive at night. Another one is the actual road conditions themselves. All across Mexico, the roads aren't maintained to the same standards as in, say, the US or Canada or Australia. There's a lot of potholes that are really deep. There's sections where you kind of have to go onto the other side of the road almost because some of that road's missing. And that's just not safe to drive at night because those things really sneak up on you.
Yeah. And one more thing I want to point out is the actual vehicles here in Mexico, they don't follow the same standard safety requirements as they do in Canada and US. Therefore, we have seen cars that have no working lights, we have seen cars without windows, and we have seen cars all in between that are pretty much about to die on the road that drive. So you could have a car drive up that has no lights in the middle of the night. There's just added dangers to driving at night, so we recommend do not do it. There has been a few times where we have done it because we've gotten in those predicaments, and it has been okay because we've been really slow, driving mindful, and we've had nothing bad happen. But we don't recommend it, and we try to stay away from it.
Yeah.
The next tip we want to say for you guys is to be discreet. This means discreet in your vehicle and discreet in the way that you hold your possessions in public. Don't be flashing around expensive equipment, and don't leave a bunch of stuff on your dash when you're not in the van. Every time we leave the van, we lock up, we turn our alarm on, we close our blackout curtains all around. You cannot tell that it is a camper when we're not in here, and we also have a reflective that we put in the windshield on front, and our windows are tinted. So there's not a lot you can see in. If you do look in, all you see is a very bare, empty van. We really try not to show that we have our home in here, because although to the naked eye it looks like we're rich, look at this home that we live in, like this is our everything. So
and
just because it's all right there doesn't mean that we have more behind that.
Definitely, and I think this is super important. You got to remember that there's a hell of a lot of poverty in Mexico, and even good people can be driven to, you know, theft or anything if their family's really struggling, and
if it's right in front of their face.
Exactly. If you're showing off that you've got these, you know, $1,000 camera or a MacBook or whatever, it's just inviting trouble that's so unnecessary. And just keep your doors shut, and don't make it obvious.
Yeah.
So our third tip, we actually made copies of everything. I think this is important when you're traveling to any other country, to make copies of your passport, your driver's license, even potentially a bank card. But more important coming down here, and specifically with this one, our good friends The Bus Life gave us this tip, and that's to make a photocopy or an actual copy, I guess, of your driver's license. They were able to get a proper card copy made. We tried to do that. A lot of places won't allow you to make that because...
Yeah, we don't think it's legal to make a proper plasticized version, second version of your license, but what we did is we went to a FedEx center, we laminated, we photocopied our ID, we laminated it, we cut it around so that it's the same color, size, and everything, and it's just a little bit more flimsy than a plasticized card. But when we need to hand over an ID to a cop that pulls us over, we don't hand over our real license. Our real license stays in the safe that's bolted to the van. We hand over a copy.
Yeah, and that just gives us so much more peace of mind, because if the policeman then does say, you know, okay, you've got to come to the station tomorrow and that's where your license is, we're like, okay, sure. And then as soon as he leaves, we're off, because they don't have our license. And this license we've shown now probably to 20 authorities so far, and not one person has picked up that it's not a real license. You got to remember that they don't know what a Canadian license looks like. Or they might, but they don't, you know, they see so many different licenses all the time that they don't know exactly what it should be like.
Yeah.
Okay, so our fourth tip.
So fourth tip is that we recommend that you plan where you're going to sleep before the sun goes down. We do this every day that we are traveling, and we couldn't stress the importance of it, and we really have felt enhanced safety because of this. We've mentioned 1,000 times, and we will still promote this amazing app. We use iOverlander. It helps you find spots that are recommended by other travelers who've done the same route. They have written whether they found it was safe, if there was noise, if there was water hookups. People write all sorts of reviews on the areas. So not only do you know that other travelers have recently been to this location, but you know where you're going to sleep before the sun goes down, so you don't drive at night, and so you can get a feel for your campground before you are locked in. If you get to a spot and it doesn't feel right with you, go with your gut. Know that if it doesn't feel right with you then, you're probably not going to sleep very well if all night you're thinking about the safety of your location. A few times that has happened to us where we're looking around, we stop and we're like, I don't know, like we both talk it out. If one of us doesn't feel 100% about that spot, we move on and find another spot.
Yeah.
And that's where it's good to do it in the daytime, because then you're still not driving at night, but then you can get to a spot that you feel safe before the sun goes down.
Definitely. And I think the longer you do this, the more comfortable you do get sleeping in the van. And I think no matter where you sleep, I know our first couple of nights in Mexico, but at the same time, our first couple of nights in Canada,
Yeah.
when we were sleeping in the van, we were nervous. We probably didn't sleep as well. But you get past that, and I feel like without wanting to get lulled into like a sense of complacency, you realize that most people, especially in Mexico, don't care that you're sleeping in your van. As long as you're not being disrespectful, you're fine. And that actually leads us on to our very last point, tip 5. And I feel like this is probably the biggest one, is show respect. Like, show respect for whichever culture you're in, whether it's Mexico, the US, Canada, but people appreciate if you're making an effort to be respectful to them. You know, always be polite. We try to always smile, and you know.
And that's not just with like the people, but that's with the land. That's where you camp. Like, don't get to an area. If you get to somewhere, like, leave it behind as it was when you came to it.
Or even cleaner.
Yeah, or cleaner if you can. Yeah. And yeah, just be friendly to people, because you'll get warmer welcomes back if you're smiling and saying "Hola, buenos dias, how are you?" Like, and you're making that effort. And in saying that, like, we don't park where we're not supposed to park. We do follow sign laws here. We try as hard as we can to follow the rules and the culture and the vibe of the country. And we think that alone has helped us a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
And that has maybe helped lead to meeting people and being offered to stay at people's houses. And so be respectful wherever you go. So a couple final pointers just to wrap up the video. We did get a phone plan while we were down here, and that did also make us feel safer, because we were able to contact friends and family and even let other travelers know where we are if we're planning to head that way. Therefore, if they don't hear from us, they go, "Oh, what's up?" The phone plan was quite easy. We got one through AT&T Mexico. We paid $35 a month for 7 gigs of data, and
and it's actually got pretty good reception.
Yeah.
Our experience though, after 5 months, we'd probably say go with Telcel. They seem to be a better company. A lot of other travelers go with them, and they get better reception.
But either way, just getting a phone plan will add to your
security,
whether it's your own security or even just the fact that you can check in a few times with friends and family and let them know where you last were.
Finally, learning Spanish would also be a really good safety tip. We've tried to learn it as we go, and we're getting better. We would like to be a bit further along than we are, but we know the basics, and I just think this is really important safety-wise, because for starters, people appreciate you trying to do it, and it's a sign of sort of respect, but also people might be trying to give you... Really, dude?
That was fine. It's not...
Are you serious? That was like... No.
And
Lee, that wasn't a
by?
normal car. That was a rocket ship. Did you just see that thing?
Rocket ship.
Yes. Okay, so finally, learning Spanish. Sometimes a local might be trying to give you a warning about a certain direction, you know, road conditions, and if you can just understand a little bit, that can kind of get across, it could really help you out in the long run.
Yeah. So again, we just want to stress that this was our experience in Mexico, and we hope that if you drive down here, the information we just shared can be helpful to you. We truly believe that by taking all the precautions that we did help us stay safe down here, as we weren't going out late at night and getting drunk and partying in bars and leaving the van unattended and leaving it unlocked. Like, we really took every precaution we could, and I think that shows that we had a good time and that it is doable to drive down here.
Mexico is an absolutely beautiful country.
It's been amazing.
We initially planned on spending 2 months in Mexico, so that gives you some idea of how much we've liked it. It's now 5 months. It is a beautiful place. The people are super friendly. Yes, definitely bad things happen, and there are dangerous parts in Mexico, and we're not saying otherwise.
And just stay up to date and do your research. Like, my parents, thanks to mom and dad, have been sending us the updates of the advisories of where is not good to go, and we work with that as well, and just keep everything in mind. But you will hear a lot of travelers who've come from different directions that will give you probably more realistic advice, because they have gone there. And I guess one last thing to recommend is take the advice from travelers who have been there themselves, and not from the people who sit behind their TV and watch the news only, because living the real experience is different than hearing about it through a third party.
Definitely. So that's it for our safety tips for Mexico. Today we actually cross the border into Belize and start our next adventure into there. We're super excited about it. We've got a bit of anticipation with make going to a new country
Yeah.
because we have been in Mexico so long.
Yeah, so
But-
if you want to follow along the rest of our travels as we head down through Central America, make sure you subscribe to our channel. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, any feedback, and we are more than happy if you guys want to share your personal travel experiences about Mexico on the comments below. We have really enjoyed reading them, and we find that interaction helpful for other people who are wanting to learn more. They can get through the comments and learn some extra information that we didn't cover, so feel free.
Definitely. All right, peace out, guys, and we'll see you next time.
See ya!